560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. We've got another men and women's sports story for you. This story comes to us from the state of California. Gee, what a surprise.
Oh.
Surfing competition in Huntington Beach.
Oh, come on. Men are competing as women in surfing?
A man wanted to compete against women in surfing, but the president of the American Longboard Association, I knew I shouldn't have let my membership expire.
I know.
His name is Todd Messick. He posted a message about this to the surfing community, just basically stating the policy.
Aloha, everybody. It's Todd checking in from the American Longboard Association. It was brought to my attention yesterday that there's a transgender athlete that's entered into the women's division, and it threw me completely off guard. I didn't realize I was going to have to address this just this soon, only into our second contest. But I do want to make clear that our policy is very much in line with the ISA. You're welcome to go online. I'm going to post some things there. But right now, we're going to support biological males and biological females in their divisions respectively. If you were born a female, you enter in the women's. If you're born a male, you enter in the men's. I'm not here. You guys can live however and whatever you want to do in life. That's not for me to decide, but it is for me to decide what's fair and not fair for the American Longboard Association. So, that being said, we're going to stick to our guns. I want to offer an equal playing field for all athletes, and that's the stand we're taking. So I hope that everybody respects that and allows us to just do our thing. This whole thing's about traditional longboard surfing and supporting that. So that's what we're here to do. So thank you, everybody, for your support. Sorry for anybody for the inconvenience, and we look forward to seeing you guys on May 11th. Aloha.
And let me guess, Governor Newsom then came in and got rid of the Longboard Association.
Well, it's a process. That's nice. Todd has been in the water a little bit too long. He thought that he could just make that statement and that would be the end of it, and this is going to be our policy. Isn't he cute? Aloha. Aloha, Todd. Sabrina Brennan is an activist with Surf Equity. Yes. Just in case you think they're not coming for you, they've come for the surfers already. So you may want to contemplate that. Sabrina Brennan with Surf Equity notified the California Coastal Commission and met with some of his members. And the commission members understand that the coast is for everyone. I don't think he was barring anybody from the coast.
No, he wasn't.
No. The ocean is for everyone, says Sabrina Brennan. Some guy can't block access based on somebody's gender identity. And, of course, the California Coastal Commission agreed with him. And, of course, that dude, and you got to see this dude, that dude is going to be in the women's longboard surfing competition in Huntington Beach. Apparently, Todd forgot that Huntington Beach is in the state of California.
Yeah.
For more on this and other matters of cultural disintegration, we're pleased to be joined again by Karol Markowicz. She's a columnist for the New York Post. She's the co-author of Stolen Youth, How Radicals Are Erasing Innocence and Indoctrinating a Generation, and host of the Karol Markowicz Show on iHeartRadio. Karol, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hi, guys. Thanks so much for having me on.
Yeah, and just when you thought surfing would be insulated from the rest of our culture, Todd Messick had to find out the hard way.
Yeah, as soon as I heard his comments, I was just like, oh, Todd, oh, you live in the wrong state to be making statements like this. I knew it wasn't going to go well for Todd, but it was so cute. He was so hopeful. He thought like he had some control or some power over his own competition. And obviously he was doing what any sane person would do, with saying you can live however you want, but you can't compete against women if you're a biological male. And that's really the thing, is that everybody agrees on this. It's the fringe minority that have gotten control in places like California who disagree. And it's really not a controversial issue. Everybody knows biological men should not be competing against biological women, period. Todd knows it.
Well, right, but I mean, he was using words that are not the province of the the non-pro LGBTQIA2S plus when it comes to things like fair play, equality. Gosh, dare he co-opt the term equity even?
Yeah.
And so Sabrina Brennan, I mean, he just left her no choice. Surf
Right.
equity.
Obviously,
Yeah.
Gavin Newsom wasn't going to stand for this in his state. No
Right.
fairness for women's sports in California, not while Gavin Newsom is governor.
So,
And
Carol-
you recently wrote a piece about this too, just sort of restating what we've got a pretty good pile of research that suggests, which is this is largely a social contagion.
That's right. And the thing is that, so I wrote about a study. It's out of the Netherlands, and it's a huge study. It's 15 years. It follows 2,700 kids starting at age 11. So it's really you can't really debate with this study. It is a full-on, serious study, as opposed to a lot of other studies we've seen. So what they did was they tracked kids for these 15 years, and what they saw, and it's so funny because telling people about this study, it's like everybody knows where this is going to end up. That kids who declared themselves trans early in their lives largely changed their minds by the time they hit 26 in this case. So it more than half the kids decided they weren't trans, and that's really what happens here. And we don't know what happened to the other few who stayed trans, basically. Maybe they were affirmed a little harder. Maybe that they changed their mind at 27. Who knows? But the majority of kids grow out of it. And so taking steps like giving them hormones or, having any kind of surgery, which is just insane, is just a crazy thing to do. Everybody knows it. Here's a study that proves it. It's like the study that tells us that things we already know.
So this is just a fad, right? Transgenderism?
It is just a fad for the majority of people. It absolutely, kids outgrow it, and that's it.
I know you escaped the Big Apple for the Sunshine State, but what's going on in New York City with these targeting of Boardwalk Empire cast members? First Arnold Rothstein got it, now Nucky Thompson.
Yeah.
I hope Shea Wiggum isn't planning on visiting New York City anytime soon.
See, but if they were living like their characters, they would not, obviously be attacked. The thing is that every crazy person in New York knows that all New Yorkers are unarmed. You're not allowed to carry any weapons. You're completely a sitting duck, and there's going to be no consequences for this. That person's going to be released with no bail probably the same day, if they're even caught. So that's the crazy thing, that New York has gone down this insane rabbit hole where they don't prosecute crime. Crime continues to spiral, and everybody sort of shrugs their shoulders about it. One thing that I've said is I grew up in bad New York, 1980s, 1990s, where crime was super high, but nobody pretended it wasn't, and nobody thought, oh, let's not arrest criminals, let's not hold them to account. Everybody was on the same page that things were bad and we needed to do something about it. And that's really the thing. New York can't get to that first step where everybody admits there's a problem and admits that something needs to get done.
Well, do you think the assailant knew who he was?
No, I think it was random. I think there's all these random attacks all the time. There was a period, a few months ago where women were being punched in the face all over Manhattan. And they didn't even know if it was one or maybe multiple assailants who were doing this. Maybe they were copycats. But I think it was just a random attack.
Do you think it may have been a waitress that Mr. Pink didn't tip? That it was a holdover from Reservoir Dogs? I don't know.
Possibly, yes.
It's interesting how, despite the lawlessness that is besetting the big blue cities in America, I mean, the examples of this just become more and more egregious. I want to play you this clip from D.C. A judge there, because we don't talk about the judges enough. We talk about the prosecutors a lot, but not the judges, and they're a big problem too. A judge there named Lloyd Nolan released this young man. No cash bailed him after this that occurred.
No injuries were reported, but Moody was charged with assault with a dangerous weapon and possession of a firearm with a crime of violence. Both are felonies. Moody was initially detained after his arrest. But in a hearing last week, Magistrate Judge Lloyd Nolan granted a public defender's motion for pretrial release, placing Moody on round-the-clock home detention in Maryland with GPS monitoring and a stay-away order from occupants in the car. Monday, the U.S. Attorney's Office asked for an emergency hearing to revoke Moody's pretrial release, claiming in court documents, home confinement and GPS monitoring cannot reasonably assure the community's safety because pretrial services, which is supposed to keep tabs on Moody, only works during, quote, normal business hours. Prosecutors also say that despite defense attorney arguments which emphasize Moody's family support system and lack of criminal history, prosecutors say none of that stopped Moody from allegedly emptying that AR-15 onto a public street where, quote, any innocent passerby or resident could have fallen victim.
He took the AR-15 from his home, and this is all on video, and you heard the shots being fired in the background. He took it out. He went through an alley out onto the middle of the street, and he just opened fire.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
I thought he was at a shooting range when I was listening to it.
No, it was the street in front of his house, and he opened fire. And these are the judges and the prosecutors, and we're very familiar with this in Cook County, of course, who spend all their time telling us how they're focused on gun crime and violent criminals, and this is why they can't worry about prosecuting people who steal less than $1,000 worth of merchandise and so forth. I mean, it's pretty incredible that you would allow that young man to walk, basically.
It's insane. It really is insane. I often feel like I'm taking crazy pills. Like, who thinks that this man should be allowed back into society after doing something like that? I think that I don't even know what the ideology is anymore. Do the left just believe that nobody can be bad and nobody can commit crimes and everything's fine?
Carol, did we lose you, Carol?
Oh,
yeah. Carol, you were cutting
Hello?
out on us. You were cutting out on us a little bit.
Oh, sorry. There used to be a sense, even on the left, that crime was bad. And if we could get back to that, I feel like that would be a good starting point towards sanity.
Right, make crime again. Do you think the Daniel Penny trial, the outcome of that trial, will be a watershed moment in New York City? You know, the guy who restrained that crazy person on the train, and unfortunately he died, and then he's being prosecuted for manslaughter.
Absolutely. I think even Daniel Penny's arrest has been such a watershed moment, not just for New York City. I hear from people all over the country who say, I would never step in if somebody was committing a crime because I don't want to be like Daniel Penny. And I find that bystanderism, where nobody will step in, nobody will do anything if somebody's in trouble, I think stuff like that really, really corrodes our society, and we get to a place where we don't help each other. It's really unfortunate that Daniel Penny is being tried for this. It was caught on video, so it's not like we don't know what happened. It was completely accidental, and he was trying to save other people. So I hope that he is found not guilty. I hope that New Yorkers do the right thing, and I hope that people don't get the lesson that they shouldn't help out others, because that really does lead us to a place.
But do you think if Daniel Penny was, black or Hispanic, he'd even be charged?
I mean, we know the answer to that.
Would we even know about the story? I mean,
right, he'd be a hero, but he is a hero. That's it. He's a hero and should be treated as such.
Karol Markowicz, columnist for the New York Post, co-author of Stolen Youth, How Radicals Are Erasing Innocence and Indoctrinating a Generation, and host of the Karol Markowicz Show on iHeartRadio. Karol, thank you as always.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you, and she joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
Our communities deserve to have their tax dollars spent efficiently. All over Chicagoland, there is an increased need for vital projects like wetland improvements, enhancing water quality, or stormwater mitigation to protect homes against devastating floods. Too often, public officials find themselves at the mercy of outside advisors when planning, budgeting, and building these projects. And let's face it, they rarely meet deadlines or budgets, leaving our communities vulnerable. There's a better way forward. Control Point Engineering. At Control Point Engineering, we're more than just civil engineers.